All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this right here is going to be a follow-up to a video that I did a couple of months ago entitled "Man is not made to be humble, man is made to be humbled," which, of course, is a quote that is attributed to Mr. Mike Tyson. And that video was pertaining to none other than Mr. Patrick Mahomes, the superstar quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, in the aftermath of the stunning blowout defeat that he and his teammates suffered at the hands of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the reason why I wanted to make a video about Patrick in regards to that theme is because sometimes the best things that can happen to us is taking a loss, because it causes us to do something that we very rarely do in prosperity, or when we're because it causes us to do something that we very rarely do because it causes us to do something that we very rarely do in the midst of prosperity or abundance, that being take inventory of our protocols and our processes. A lot of times we take those things for granted when everything is going well. We might not examine certain things that we can improve upon or streamline, and eventually it's going to result in a bad result. And that's the time that we batten down the hatches and say, you know what, I have to get my shit together. I have to stop playing around. And I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs started to think that, well, we're just going to be here every year. We're going to win it every year. We have Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick was starting to inhale too many of those fumes from the mainstream liberal sports media about how unstoppable he was and how historically great he is. And he is. But he needed to be humbled so that he could be a bit more grateful about the advantageous position that the Most High has placed him in as arguably the best player in the NFL. I think that he and his teammates took for granted that they were just going to steamroll the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have not mastered the basics as much as they should. They thought that they would just be able to light up teams and do whatever they want to out there on the field. And Tampa Bay showed that that's not the case. So now Patrick Mahomes has promised that he's going to get rid of a lot of the theatrics, make himself more conventional, and that should result in him being even more proficient. I mean, this is a quarterback who completes 66% of his passes, 67, 68% of his passes, and very rarely chooses the drop down play or, the flare out, the screen, the third option on a passing route. He's always trying to push the football down the field, and he still completes his passes at anywhere from a 65 to 68% clip. So once again, he was made to be humbled. He's now forced to utilize a more reflective approach to how he wants to attack his opposition this year. And I expect him to be an overall more well-rounded and better player. He's also had a child with his little Caucasian woman, so maybe that's also grounded him a bit more. We'll see what happens. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Patrick Mahomes is looking to take yet another step forward this offseason, according to NFL Network's James Palmer. Mahomes is focused on becoming a more efficient quarterback when it comes to moving the ball down the field. It's the latest focus.
Mahomes throws the football better on the run than any quarterback I've ever seen.
Mahomes has, and what Palmer described as the QB's pursuit of becoming a more complete quarterback. So, Shannon, does Mahomes need to be more efficient?
Yes, he does. He has to let go of a lot of the pyrotechnics and just look to dumping the football off to the running back, to the fullback. If there's a fullback in the game on that play, more flare outs, things of that sort. He does not always have to push it down the field.
As any great player, Skip, you always try to.
And also sometimes, of course, I think that he may start to audible more to running plays.
To improve your game. But when you look at it, with the way this offense is constructed, Skip, it's hard to complete 70% of your passes when you push the ball down the field.
Agreed.
As he does. Because if you look at it, the reason why they moved on from Alex Smith was efficient. But they kept getting bounced in the wild card game in the divisional round of the playoffs. Because he couldn't push the ball down the field. Skip, these are Patrick Mahomes' numbers since he's been a starter. He's averaged 38 touchdowns a season. That's first. He's averaged 4,600 passing yards. That's second. He averaged 308 passing yards a game. That's first. All the while throwing less than 8 interceptions on 66% completion. When a guy throws the ball down the field as much as he does.
Let me say this. If Patrick Mahomes played for the Dallas Cowboys, Skip Bayless will be calling him the greatest football player in the history of the NFL.
Being more efficient if they ran more screens, if he checked the ball down more, if he threw the ball to the running back. But he's throwing the balls 50, 60 yards. You don't get a guy that catches for 203 yards in the first quarter, Skip, without throwing the ball 60, 70 yards down the field. You don't have a tight end that has over 100 catches by just throwing shallow crosses. You push the ball down the field. I understand that he wants to get better, and rightfully so. That's what the greats do. Tom Brady finds something and tries to get better at it. But I don't know how much more efficient he's going to get unless he alters the way he plays, which is...
That's really what he's saying, Shannon Sharp. He's saying that he's not going to spend too much time scrambling in the backfield when he can't find his primary option. When he can't find the primary option, he might just step up in the pocket, look for that running back for the little flare out or a little check down. That's all he's saying.
Check down. Because, Skip,
Kansas City's also going to have to get him better receivers. Like, it's amazing the numbers that he puts up. And, I mean, other than Kelsey and, of course, Tyreek Hill, who are both super talented, he doesn't have a big wide receiver that he can turn to. Like, if he had a Michael Thomas, of course, people say, well, damn, how many weapons you want to give him? But still, when you look at the weapons that he has one explosive receiver who's very small. He has a big receiver in Kelsey who's not that fast. Normally, quarterbacks who are able to make big plays down the field or who are accustomed to putting up these big numbers have that well-rounded wide receiver who can both stretch the field and also can go across the middle. That's something that they were missing this year with Sammy Watkins not playing very well. That's why heading into the Super Bowl, I said, look for Sammy Watkins to make some plays, because I expected them to try to take away Tyreek Hill, especially after what he did to them in the regular season. But Sammy Watkins was nowhere to be found because Patrick Mahomes had no time to wait for his receivers to get in and out of routes.
Efficient, you can't be doing the circus stuff. You can't be rolling and throwing back across your body. You can't be throwing no look passes, Skip.
Okay.
So, is he working on, well, you know what? I ain't going to do it. That's in him. That's what makes him great. That's what makes him Patrick Mahomes.
I hear everything you just said, but this is what I believe is happening right here, right now. I think Patrick Mahomes got spanked twice by Tom Brady in big playoff games, and I think he is seeing the light.
I agree.
Not about left-handed passes. It's not about no looks. It's not about wild, mad scrambles and escapes. It's about consistent textbook efficiency from the pocket. In the end, that's what wins championships. In the end, that's how you do this. And he's highly capable of being a little more efficient than he has been. Because
agreed.
He's not consistently lethal. He'll
I disagree with that. I think that he's consistently lethal. I just don't think that he is as willing to be methodical as he'll need to be over the course of his career if he wants to win as many championships as he says he wants to win. Sometimes you have to accept, it's like a boxer, you can't knock everybody out. Sometimes you have to accept that certain fights are going to be won by jabbing and holding. And that's what Tom Brady has mastered.
On occasion, he had 3 games last year that were not very good against Brian Hoyer at Kansas City when he started for New England, and he had a QBR 56, which is just barely above average. In that Las Vegas game, it became a shootout, and he was great at the end, but he was 22 of 43. That's barely.
But he wanted it at the end. I thought you said you liked the guy.
Right. No, I got it, but you were barely 50% completions that game, and then he went to Denver and went 0 for 8 on third down. Remember that game? Threw for barely 200 yards, had a QBR 45. Then I look at his 2 Super Bowl games. I'm sorry, Shannon. Not good enough. If he's that guy, if he is transcendent, if he's going to be my homeboy, you have to be a little better than this in those 2. Against San Francisco, we know that he threw late third quarter interception, early fourth quarter interception. He had a QBR of 64 with those 2 interceptions, which is not very good. Then against Tampa, he threw for 220 yards with 2 picks and had a.
I thought his receivers were very nervous as well in the Super Bowl, so they didn't help him, but still, he did not perform very well, but it's very difficult to evaluate how bad he was because of how poor the offensive line was. The offensive line was the worst I've ever seen in any game, not just the Super Bowl.
50. Well, it's just not. It's not good enough.
But in the championship game, when he went head-to-head against Brady, he outplayed Brady in that championship game.
But he lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He outplayed it. He outplayed him when they played early in the year. But Skip, to be efficient, the reason why Alex Smith, I gave him the name Check Down Alex, because he was unwilling to push the ball down the field.
Okay.
He'd rather check it down. He was very efficient.
But there's some middle ground between Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes right now. And again, that first year, going into his second training camp, he's practicing no-look passes and left-handed passes.
Skip gets so mad. Just looking at Patrick Mahomes practicing no-look passes piss him off.
In training camp.
Just in case.
Wrong.
Just in case.
Wrong. It won't get you anywhere.
Yeah, it will. And get your first down to keep you on the field and win your game. You know, you never know. So let me ask you a question. What throw do you think Brady has made in his career that he didn't practice?
That he didn't practice? Well, none.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's my point to you.
My point to you is
how many times has Tom Brady thrown a left-handed or a no-look pass? Zero.
Tom Brady can barely walk and chew gum. So we got to stick to the basics. Stick to the basics.
You just said the GOAT can barely walk and chew gum?
We stick to the basics. Skip, the man ran a 6-flat 40.
He did get drafted by Montreal to play baseball.
A catcher.
Right.
How fast are catchers?
Well, I didn't say speed. He can walk and chew gum. He might have some of the sweetest pocket feet I've ever seen.
He does, but he's a different guy. Skip, a lot of that has to do with how athletic we are. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is mobile. Tom Brady's had to make the most of the situation that he is. He's not mobile. Okay. So he's found a way to last 22 years in a 7x9.
Okay, so you're saying if you got it, flaunt it, lose it.
I believe in conspicuous consumption. If you have it, flaunt it.
Okay.
I do.
That's what I do.
Well,
Look at this kid rolling his eyes. Oh, God, I have to work with this big overgrown Negro. Oh, well, gotta pay the bills.
Know that. We do know that. Next, guys, this way.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how things go for Patrick Mahomes next season. So peace.